Oh, Donna Shapiro is here. Tamara. Okay, we can begin. I'm sorry. This evening there is a Jim Ruxin film. Right? We have a Jim Ruxin film, but Jim is not here to tell us about it.
Survivor is the movie.
The Survivor.
The Survivor.
The Survivor.
Yeah, you have to be
Okay.
careful. There are a lot of them. It's superb, special.
I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all.
Oh, I thought.
Okay, it's either superb and special or terrible.
It was just hard to watch. I found it very difficult to watch.
It wasn't easy, but it was beautiful.
Okay, ladies.
This is Torah study, not movie.
Ladies.
discussion.
I'm out. This is a football symbol. You wouldn't. All right. Save that for the discussion. Lori Weiss just joined us. Got a great crowd. Tomorrow's here. Fine. So we have a Jim Ruxin film tonight, which is either wonderful or horrible. And the only way you're going to figure that out is to watch it.
Right.
Okay. On Wednesday, January 11th at noon, current events. We have, the current events thing. I've had a request from Steve Miller that I spend a couple of minutes during that session talking about Black Hebrews. Okay, so I will attempt to do that. It's an interesting topic. So Wednesday, January 11th at noon, current events. We always have fun. And then, hey, folks, good news. Good news. Groundhog Day is February 2nd.
Wow.
Okay, yeah. So we're gonna be able to do that.
That's a special day.
It is every time it shows up. It's a
It's my
special.
son's birthday.
Okay, and Cindy, is there anything coming?
Yes, I got stuff today. This Tuesday at 5 p.m., we're having a happy hour for women only at Solidarity Restaurant in Santa Monica. On the January 18th, we're doing an armchair adventure to Ukraine, which will show a lot of sights of the city, including the Menorah building in Dnipro, the Nachman's grave, and some history. That is open to everyone. It will be on Zoom, January 18th at 7 p.m. To get the link, there was an email sent, and it'll be in the weekly Mondays and Wednesday. And Susie will talk about our Shabbat at Froman's, which will be January 27th, and that is open to everyone.
So excuse me, the Solidarity Restaurant, where's that located?
Okay, hold it, please, Susan.
Lincoln and Santa Monica Boulevard. Susie, do you want to unmute and talk about Froman's?
Where's Susie? Is Susie here?
Yeah, she's having trouble unmuting, I think.
Oh.
But we're having dinner at Froman's at 6 p.m. Everybody is welcome. The more the merrier. You just have to let Susie know if you want to come, because she wants to have seats available for you. And it's just a lovely, everybody pays for themselves. Froman's is very accommodating. You could bring your own wine. There's no corkage.
Repeat the day and time.
Shabbat dinner at Froman's is January 27th, 6 p.m.
And I just want to tell you, it's no host, and everybody's going to get their own bill, not to worry. And there's no charge if you bring wine. We'll have corkscrews for you to open it, and perhaps you can share your wine with those that didn't bring wine. It's always fun, and we look forward to seeing you. And please RSVP. This event is not in the bulletin. On Monday, Julia is going to be sending out information for everybody. Okay.
Yeah, if you want, if you're not getting the emails that aren't in the weekly, you could send me a notice at wbtsisterhood@wbtla.org, and we can put you on the mailing list. Because it conflicts with services, they don't want to put it in the bulletin. So we have to create our own mailing list.
Thank you.
I'll put
Okay.
the address in the chat room.
Okay, thank you. Yes, good. That's perfect. Thank you very much. We are moving ahead. Jim Ruxin, you're here now, but we already, Jim, I keep admitting Jim, and he's somehow not admitted. But we'll get back to Jim when he shows up. Okay, Cindy just posted the email address, WBT Sisterhood. Okay, it's all there in the chat. Now, checking in. What is happening in the world that we should know about that's part of your lives?
May I
Susie.
share?
Susie?
May I
Go
share?
ahead, Susie?
I'm gonna be getting a relocation voucher.
Excuse
I
me,
don't-
Donna, excuse
Okay.
me, I said
Sorry.
Susie, please.
Oh,
My turn.
okay.
Hi.
Susie, it's
Okay,
five
everybody.
times.
I have decided that I want to move on from the woman's commentary and I want another clout, as you call it. Would you put in the chat room the name, and if I can get it on Amazon, or I can't see that. I can't see that.
It's available on Amazon.
It's
and you can
available
get
on Amazon.
A
Okay,
big
it's
book
called The
or a little.
Torah, a modern commentary. Thank you. I'm writing it down.
Yes,
Thank you, everybody. The
Okay.
Torah.
I need that too, the Torah.
okay, now, checking in things that are happening. Risa would like to announce that on Friday evening, January, what is it?
13.
13th, I put down 3rd, and I know that that's wrong. 13th, Risa and I and our family will be at Wilshire at the Irma's campus for services as part of a weekend in which our granddaughter is bat mitzvah on the next day. So if you're going to be around Friday evening, we're all going to be gathered at the synagogue. And as important as it is that this is our 8th grandchild being bar bat mitzvah, and she is Acharon Chaviv, the last and thus most beloved. Hannah is being bat mitzvah, but along with it, and it's hard to know which Risa is most excited by, there's going to be a gospel choir as part of the Martin Luther King celebration. So whatever brings you, either is to share in our simcha or to join Risa bopping along with the gospel choir. That's going to happen this coming Friday evening.
And you should be aware that the service is starting at the usual 6 o'clock time, but there's a pre-oneg, and they're going to have nice food starting at 5:30, and they're expecting a crowd, so you should be there early on Friday night.
Yeah. All this is
Mazel
happening.
tov.
All this is happening with regard to that. Then, okay, so that's that. I have finally-
Just saying you should always be careful about praising one of your grandchildren when you don't know who's listening.
Just Maya. Maya's listening. She knows we love her.
And Zeke and your daughter.
Hello.
Oh, hi.
Okay, forget everything I said. It's another one of the run-of-the-mill grandchildren, and don't worry about it.
Dave's most precious grandchild is Hannah made for her bar mitzvah.
Okay, I have no preferences except for the grandchild directly in front of me at any given moment. That's
Right now, it's just a painting of some kind.
okay. Now,
Well,
I'd like to announce, and this is something that I have been begging for the privilege of announcing since I found out about it. But I have a press release here from the Hebrew Union College. It is entitled Rabbi Tamara Cohen Ashkenazi, PhD, elected vice president and then president of the Society of Biblical Literature. The Society of Biblical Literature is an organization of 8,000 scholars.
Wow.
And Tamara
Oh,
is vice president and then president of an organization of 8,000 scholars. It is the oldest and largest learned society devoted to the critical investigation of the Bible, supports scholarly research and stuff. And they have many lovely things to say. Tomorrow, I'm not going to read all of it. It's just totally laudatory that Dr. Ashkenazi, professor for more than 32 years, the president of HUC, sends his regards. Rabbi Dr. Ashkenazi stated, I'm quoting you tomorrow, I am touched and inspired by the honor that the Society of Biblical Literature has bestowed upon me. Being a member of this international, diverse, and global scholarly community has given me and many others great opportunities to pursue scholarship with depth. Then it mentions her many academic achievements and books she has written, edited, and mother of 5, grandmother of 5. And Tamara, you know that none of this would have happened if you hadn't become an active participant in the Chevra Torah. That's how you made your reputation. But this is an incredible, folks, international honor, one of the highest honors any biblical scholar can receive in the world. And we are.
wow. Mazel tov.
Okay, Tamara, it's your floor for 30 seconds. That's it. Time is good. That's it. Oh, thank God. We're going to actually do 15 votes before we acknowledge that you are the Bible scholar. So we can have 15 votes just like the Congress does. Tamara, you know how deeply moved I was when I found out, and I know how important this is for you and for the 8,000 others. We are just so happy for you and proud of you. Go from strength to strength.
Are you going to be too busy to come Saturday mornings now?
Oh, right. Okay, I don't think so. I don't think so. Are we going to meet Sarah or not?
You're muted.
You're muted. Sarah's not available. There's a new member of the Ashkenazi household, Sarah the dog. Oh, we're not-
Muted.
Actually, her new name is Lily.
When did that happen? You didn't clear that with me. Lily?
Get a chance. She told me.
She told you. Okay, Lily. Okay, we look forward to hearing Lily as time goes on. Any other personal events checking in that we should know about and that we can be aware of?
Nothing to compare with that, but I am going to be getting a relocation voucher to move. And I want prayer because I need to move away from this lawless neighborhood because I have no respect for the law and I don't want to be around it. And I think I'm going to get a beautiful voucher in a nice apartment on the west side somewhere, Santa Monica, Malibu. I don't know where, but just pray that God will open the doors for being a nice Jewish community where people obey the Torah and do what God wants. And that's what I want to be surrounded by. People that love the Lord and do the right thing.
Super. So the proper greeting when someone moves into a new home is Tit Chadesh, the feminine Tit Chadesh. If you have a happy renewal, I guess is the best way to translate that. But
Thank you.
Tit Chadesh. Tit Chadesh.
Thank you.
Fabulous. Today, we finish the last verses of the book of Genesis, Breshit. We turn to page 316 in the Plout, 296 in the Women of Reformed Judaism commentary. Genesis 50, verse 22, page 316.
22. Okay.
Okay. And we can do this.
Rabbi, that's my grandson right there. You
Okay.
can see the picture of my grandson.
Okay. Thank
Is
you.
my Marcus.
Thank you. Now, we are on chapter 50, verse 22. Okay. We're going to have individuals read single lines. Does someone want to read verse 22? Oh, tomorrow, you're most welcome. Do I have, okay, Doris, verse 22.
So Joseph and his father's household remained in Egypt. Joseph lived 110 years. Should I go on?
Okay, verse 23. Who's going to read? Do I see a hand? Lynn, it's always Lynn. Lynn always reads, yes. Go, Lynn.
Joseph told Ephraim's grandchildren, the children of Machir too, Manasseh's son, were born on Joseph's knees.
Thank you. Verse 24, Donna Shapiro. Verse 24, there you go.
Joseph then said to his kin, I am dying, but God will surely take care of you and bring you up out of this land, to the land that God promised to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob.
Beautiful, thank you. Verse 25, Risa.
Joseph adjured Israel's children, saying, God will surely take care of you. Bring my bones up from this place.
And let us all read, all of us, verse 26, even though we have different translations.
Joseph died aged 110 years. They embalmed him
and placed in a
put into a coffin in Egypt.
And now we say together, here it goes.
Amen.
Let us be strong.
Let us be strong. Let us strengthen one another.
Now, I am going to do the magic of
Be strong.
of a siyum. I have here creamed herring.
Yummy.
And we say borei minei mizonot because it's a general food. Baruch atah Adonai melech haolam borei minei mizonot. Oh, somebody
Share it with your wife.
That's
Well,
right.
share it like that. It's nice, and it's also gives me a feeling that can be a priest offering the cracker, the wafer, and the stuff like that. That's very exciting. Then, I have slivovitz, and it's way too strong to drink much of. So I'll do a little bit, and if you'll join me, because slivovitz is made out of plum, it has to be borei pri ha'etz.
But
Okay,
that's World Heritage Slivovitz.
World Heritage. It is now. Slivovitz is that. So Slivovitz made a listing. Baruch
Baruch
atah
atah Adonai
Aye.
Eloheinu melech haolam
Borei
borei hagafen.
Bravery Hagafen.
Oh my goodness. My sinuses are clear. Yes.
Lama. Race. Gimel.
Very good.
Okay to drink that so early in the morning, Rabbi?
Well, I just finished from 8 to 9 o'clock. I finished tutoring my cousin, 13 years old, 12 years old, in Israel for his bar mitzvah. So I've spent from 8 to 9 o'clock in the Negev on Israel time.
So it's
already.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
It's late in the evening. And
Gotcha.
Excuse me, Rabbi. I
Rabbi, can I ask
wanted
a
to tell
question?
you, you people are my family. I feel so blessed to be a part of this group. Everybody is so close to their families. Mine's so far away. You're such a blessing to my life.
Steve, you have your hand up?
Yes, I have a question about what we just read. Because it
So do I.
says Joseph was embalmed and put in a coffin, which prevents the normal deterioration of the body. And I don't think you can unembalm someone. So how is it that by the time they leave Egypt, he's only bones, as would be the normal custom?
I mean, that is such a simple question. I will simply ask Tamara to say, how did he end up, after being embalmed, being reduced only to bones?
It's a really good question. I have no idea. I'm assuming that they may mean it more metaphorically. They take the whole person and they put the whole person in the joint, they bury the whole person. That includes the bones. But I really don't know.
Okay, so the incoming president of the Bible Society has been stumped by your question. Congratulations. Okay, Howard?
So Robert Alter claims that this word coffin is only used in this one place, and that the Hebrews in Canaan do not appear to have actually used coffins.
Yeah, well, that is true. What they did, and if you go to a place called, Beit Sharim? If you go to Beit Sharim, there you're able to actually see how there was a two-stage burial. One stage in which the body is brought in and placed in a cutout in the cave, and it stays there for 12 months until, Steve, it's reduced to bones, and then the bones are taken and put into what we would probably call an ossuary, a bone repository. And when the Torah uses the phrase, return to his ancestors, the image is of the bones being returned to where the other bones of the family were. If we rejoined his ancestors means that his bones after the year were brought there. So that would be the process. Okay. Please, Rebecca.
I'm not familiar with the prayers that you just said. And what did you eat and why did you drink?
Why did I drink? Well, it's hard. Rebecca,
What was the prayer?
know that what you just did is incredibly valuable. Thank you. Thank you for stopping us and asking the question. There's a personal story. The personal story is that I never conducted a Chevra Torah until Eric, I moved to Central Synagogue. And at Central Synagogue, they already had the custom, the tradition of studying Torah every Shabbos morning, a Chevra Torah. And at the end of the study of each of the books, so like today, we just finished Genesis. There is a siyum, S-I-Y-Y-U-M, which is a concluding celebration and party. So we just had that. And at Central, they had a bottle of Slivovitz on the table for that. I, being a creature of custom, have adopted plum brandy, strictly kosher, as the drink of choice. But it could be soda, coffee, it could be absolutely anything. But for me, this is kosher LePesach. And was it Steve mentioned that it actually became a national heritage drink? It is an old Eastern European drink, plum brandy. So there's nothing ritual at all, there's habit. The fact that because it's plum brandy, I couldn't say Borei Pri Hagafen because that's brings forth the grapes, the vine. That would be great for wine. It's not great for slivovitz. So I used a special blessing for plums, taken borei priates, fruit of the tree. Then the creamed herring, Cindy, how do you explain that?
It's good.
It's a long-standing tradition established hundreds of years ago by Rabbi Davids.
I love it.
Oh, that's so nice. Thank you for having phrased it that way. But I like herring. And when we were having in-person siyumim at University Synagogue, we would always ask people to bring food in for that day. And by the way, they did gefilte fish and whatever, everything. I mean, all hummus. And Cindy would bring in herring that she bought explicitly from Costco. That was part of the ritual. It was a Costco herring. And so, your question reminds me, I've told you this before, but it's such a wonderful story about Jewish tradition. A man walks into a synagogue and is watching people worship up front. And then when the rabbi turns around and approaches the ark, the rabbi bows, lifts his head, and then walks to the ark. And the stranger who looked at this behavior said, "What's that all about?" I mean, the rabbi turned around, is going to open up the ark, but before, the rabbi ducks, then stands up, and then approaches the ark. Oh, someone said, in our previous building, we had a chandelier there, and you always that's Jewish tradition. So the guy, and that's why Cindy and herring ended up in the siyum. Now
I can't live without this group. I swear you guys are beautiful.
You open up, you now have our deepest secrets. Okay, we are going to go now to Genesis 48:1. Genesis 48:1. I think it's on page 306.
48:1.
You're going back. You're going backwards.
Well,
Yes, because we have to see you.
We finished the book. We had to make sure we did that. Now we're going to pick up on, stuff that we haven't studied before. 306. Yeah. 48:1 is there. And then Risa, I know you gave it to me in the
284 in the women's.
284 in the women's commentary. Thank you. I had 28 and a question mark. Okay. Now, and I am going to do a superb job of attacking the translation. I love to do that, as you all know. Now, after these things, this is after Jacob gave instructions about how he was to be buried and so forth. And by the way, Jacob uses the phrase, "when I am laid to rest with my ancestors." Again, that means that his bones are put into the ossuary with the ancestors' bones. Okay, now we get to 48:1. After these things, Vayomer Yosef, it says they said to Joseph. The Hebrew says somebody said to Joseph, or you could read it, it was said to Joseph, but the translation is they said. Fine.
My translation says one said.
Yeah, well, that is closer.
And mine says someone.
That is closer. This one says they said. Howard?
So regarding translations, I've noticed over and over again that we've come up with things to talk about related to this particular translation from the Reform translation, the Plaut, the New Plaut, and then it turns out all the other translations get it right, and some translations even are are better and sound better. So why? So it seems to me we ought to keep a record, a running log of how many times there's something to talk about, because the translation is all messed up, and then it turns out all the other translations are fine.
Okay, I can just tell you that I am not picky, and I don't go for little cheap shots like it's translated differently. Just once in a while, every week, I point it out. We had Dr. Stein, who did the translation.
Yeah, I remember.
To us a number of years ago.
Right.
It sounds like you're ready to have another meeting with him.
I think so. At the time, I was very impressed, but over and over again, it seems like his translation, he just gratuitously comes up with stuff out of left field that
it's not gratuitous. As a matter of fact, Howard, to be fair to Dr. Stein, who doesn't need me to be fair to him, the commentators make a big deal about who was it who came and told Joseph. It became a really big thing. I'm not even quite sure why, but the rabbis in the Talmud and later argue over this verse.
Well, I'll give you.
Rabbi, can I defend the translator?
Just out of left
Wait,
field.
hold it.
Yeah,
I can't hear it, two people.
I don't really feel like maybe saying that out of left field was the wrong thing. I believe that every time one of these anomalies comes up, he has a reason for it. But it's very obscure. You have to read all the commentators to find out. But he's actually just making it very confusing. And I think something that sticks more to the actual what's in the text is much better.
Let's move forward, but I appreciate you saying it's not gratuitous. It really
not gratuitous is the wrong word.
Effie and then Steve.
Yes, in this verse, the end of the verse is Manasseh and Ephraim.
Wait, we're not there yet.
Oh, I'm sorry. So come back to me.
I will, Steve.
Just to be fair to the translator, about someone and they are arguably synonyms in the sense that for at least the last 20 plus years, they can be used so that you don't have to say he or she. It's essentially could also be a genderless individual.
Okay, I'm going to say briefly because I want to get past it. When this translation was done, the gender issues were not.
It's not a gender issue. It's a grammatical issue.
I understand.
For a long time before the gender issue, if you didn't want to say he or she, they was acceptable.
Let's go forward. I accept that. That's fine. Let's go forward. Vayomer Yosef and somebody, 400 people came to Joseph and said, Hine avicha choleh. And now, Steve, here you go. The translation says your father is fading. Fading. Okay, Tamara says what is in the text is sometimes, confusing. Some try to smooth out the problems with the translation. Yeah, they try to make it a more readable text. Okay, the Hebrew says to Joseph, Dad is choleh, is sick. The translation is Dad is fading. Okay. Vayikach et shnei vanav. And so Joseph took his two sons, and this is what somebody, Steve or somebody else was trying to pick up. This is weird. And he took his two sons with him. The Hebrew says, et Menashe v'et Ephraim. And the English says, Ephraim and Manasseh. I can't do anything with this. The Hebrew says Manasseh and Ephraim. The English says Ephraim and Manasseh. Is the world going to come to an end with an anomaly? No. I just don't know how it happened. Effie, you still have your hand up?
Yeah. It's backwards from the way it's usually said. Usually it's said Ephraim and Manasseh. And this one time, in every other portion of the Bible, it's Ephraim and Manasseh, except here.
Yes, yeah. And in the traditional Shabbos blessing for sons, Elohim Ephraim v'chi Manasseh. Ephraim goes first here, but the Hebrew here puts Manasseh first. Okay? And I see no reason, I'm not even going to dwell on it. It's just there it is. Okay? So a little bit of a problem. Now
may I ask a question?
Please, who?
I just want to know what your granddaughter's Hebrew name is.
No, let's leave that.
I want to give her a gift.
Her name is Hannah. Hannah.
Okay.
Hannah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. When they told Jacob, or when it was told to Jacob, that your son Joseph is coming, Vayitchazek Yisrael. And the only reason I point that word out is that we just used it. Chazak, chazak, v'nitchazek. Let us be strong, let us be strong, let us strengthen one another. And here, just by chance, Israel strengthened himself. And I think we've all seen this with people in hospitals, ill people, that when someone comes into the room, sometimes they, I don't want to say perk up, it's more than perking up. They gather strength to interrelate with that person. And so they told Jacob, hey, Joseph is here. Israel rallied. The Hebrew, Vayitchazek. He rallied. He strengthened himself, and he sat up in the bed. So you can get the picture, the old man. Verse 3, before we go on to verse 3, anything coming up here? Okay, now, Vayeshev al Hamita. The rabbis like that phrase. He sat up on the bed. And here the rabbis use the opportunity to take a swipe at Mordechai. You gotta, they live in a wonderful world. They said when Mordechai was in the presence of Haman, he showed him no honor. But Jacob, in the presence of his son, the prince of Egypt, sat up in bed and showed his son honor. Why they decided to take out after Mordechai in this particular commentary, I don't know. But Larry, yes?
So I am just struck in these verses by how facilely the text goes back and forth from Jacob to Israel and back to Jacob. It seems like his personalities are blending here at the moment of his death.
Well, you did something really good because the commentators like to say that the names represent different personalities.
Yeah.
There is a Jacob personality and an Israel personality. So Larry, first of all, you get 3 extra points for hitting on, that it really is a key point in their interpretation. And secondly, the only thing I can offer here is that when the texts were blended and the Jacob stories and the Israel stories were put together, it was done in an editing process, which wasn't always consistent. And Tamara, is there going to be anything more than that? It's a result of editing without a computer, and sometimes Jacob, sometimes Israel, but originally it was because there were probably Jacob sources and Israel sources that were blended. And okay, that Tamara.
Yeah, but I think there is meaning in when they use which name, when they blended it. I think in many cases they're trying to communicate something. So Israel is the more collective sense. That's the person who has a destiny, and Yaakov is the more personal. So here it's almost as if the professional, the patriarch is rising up to a grand moment. So he is Israel. And then it's Yaakov is the more intimate version of his being. Now that may not be how it all started, but I think when they use the names, it's really good to try to figure it out. But it still remains guesswork, not really established fact.
And the most important thing, Larry, is that you pick up the fact that they're different personalities, and that the rabbis always considered them that way. So that's cool. Arthur.
I have a comment in this regard. If you want to know the difference or the momentum of Jacob and Israel, read the verses around the time that he was wrestling. There are many, many times that these names have been used interchangeably without giving a notion of why or what it was trying to say. I have noticed it many, many times. I read it many times, but it didn't give me any indication of why it was. I just came into you in this time to give you the notion to go and look for it in that subject, in that verses.
That's fine. I mean, that's cool. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's there. And as Tamara mentions, it's not resolved. I mean, we don't have absolute clarity which way it goes, but it is interesting and suggestive. So it was said to Jacob, your son is coming. So Jacob was told that your son is coming, but it was Israel who sat up in bed. Okay, and we can learn from that, I guess. Okay. Verse 3.
Question about the multiple personality.
I'm sorry.
May I ask a question about Jacob and Israel and how there's two different personalities, like a diamond? I think we're all like that. I think we all have multiple talent and personality and ideas and creativity, and it's interesting to see how God does that.
It is that. Of course, I am a very stable person. I've never,
I knew you were going to say that.
I never learned how to be a Stanley. I never wanted to be a Stanley. I am a Stanley, and I don't know what that means. So
it's a compliment.
Other people, but grandchildren go through. You've all had this. Even our daughter, Shoshana was a Shoshi. I mean, it goes through different periods. And if you didn't use the right name for the right period, you were stopped cold. I have done this. I am with that yesterday.
That's Joseph.
That was yesterday.
That's Joseph.
And Aviva, who was listening, is a palindrome, so we don't know whether she's coming or going.
Can you see Joseph, Rabbi? That's my son.
Oh, very nice. Beautiful.
Handsome. Looks like James Dean.
Very beautiful. Beautiful. Okay. So the next thing, verse 3. Vayomer Yaakov el Yosef. Jacob said to Joseph, so I guess Jacob is back, Israel is gone. El Shaddai appeared to me in Luz in the land of Canaan and blessed me. There's a note down here, see 17:1. And it's on page 100 in the Plout. And I just want to, cross-reference this use of El Shaddai, Genesis 17:1. When Abram was 99 years old, the Eternal appeared to God, to Abram, and said to him, I am El Shaddai. Okay, that's the first use of El Shaddai as a name for God. My very limited academic knowledge would tell me that when two names connected to gods are used to refer to one God, it reflects a symbiosis, a coming together of two gods and two qualities, and maybe even two communities that had different gods. El, we know. El has been all over the place, and it's used a lot in the prayer books, El, and we know El evolves into Eloah, Elohim. It has a whole variety of meanings, El. What about Shaddai? Any thoughts on where Shaddai might come from? Donna.
Well, I think Shaddai means breasts. So Shaddai could be the nurturing aspect of God, but they translate it as God Almighty. I'm not sure where that comes from.
Well, maybe it's a statement that the power of women is far greater than we ever assumed. But
well, that's clear.
Thank you for resolving that question. But
So true.
El Shaddai, when I was growing up, was often translated as mountain god. Mountain god. And Shaddai, breasts, mountains, imagery, holds pretty well. El Shaddai, therefore the sense of El Shaddai, the mighty God, and you're saying maybe it means the nurturing God. Okay? And it's fun because they are different. And the answer really is, as far as I'm aware, we don't know. El Shaddai could be nurturing, El Shaddai could be mountain, and I'm about to be corrected. Yes.
Well, scholars who were males translated it, understood it as mountains, and translated it as mighty. But Hannah is correct. It means breast. And when it is used, it's usually in blessings or moments of nurturing, of fertility. So in 17:1, it has to do with the future birthing of Isaac. And it's the God who is in charge of, it's the aspect of God. It's not necessarily a different God, but it's the aspect of God the biblical writer appealed to. Now, so when feminists started pointing out, as Dana did, that this is about breasts, many scholars said, oh, no, it's about mountains, until somebody reminded them the Teton Mountains. Why are the Teton Mountains called Teton Mountains? And when you know the answer, you see that there's a connection in imagination between mountains and breasts, except breasts have the additional virtue of nurturing, which I think is what is meant in the Bible.
Donna, thank you. Okay, and so we have clarity in there's clarity in the land of uncertainty. We read it, we feel it, but it's not certain. Risa.
It just says to me that we're back to the feminine aspect of God. And it's interesting to me that, like on many mezuzot, you see the shin. as the sign of God, the name of God. Does it come from this? Are you there?
Shaddai, the shin is there on the mezuzah. It's
Why?
there.
Yeah.
Why don't we just make a midrash and say, we want this house to be filled with strength and nurturing love.
But you're making that up.
I just did.
You just made it up. I just
did.
wonder.
So what?
Well, I just wonder if there's text to it of some kind.
Is there any reason why Shaddai specifically and the shin?
Excuse me, I have a cold.
Oh, you know what I'm thinking, Risa, which I'm trying not to do because it hurts. The shin also is part of the tefillin putting on.
Oh.
Okay, and the shin has to do with the image of the fingers and the spreading, and when you put the tefillin on, the shin is also there. It's found in a number of places for a number of reasons. Why do people choose one way to refer to God over another? And I think, for example, you know that that God can be referred to in one way that emphasizes God's judgmental activity, and another way to refer to God that emphasizes God's loving activity. And it's almost the same breakdown, Shaddai and Shaddayim. It's almost the same loving and power. It's fascinating. It is fascinating that God, as Risa, as we encounter God and try to understand God, there are times that we encounter God as severely judgmental, and there are other times we encounter God as nurturing and loving. And in some ways, Shaddai can be understood to wrap up both. That's just me rambling.
Hello.
Eric, go ahead, please. Eric.
Well, I'm a Star Trek fan, and Leonard Nimoy devised the Vulcan greeting when he did the priestly sign on the hands, when he said, "Live long and prosper."
Yeah, well,
Isn't that something?
That was this, and that's a shin. Okay? And it's also the blessing that the priests use. Reese, I can't get more. It's fascinating and it's interesting, and Eric is correct. The shin is there. The shin is in tefillin. The shin is on the mezuzah.
I love it.
Okay, Howard, please. Howard, I can't hear you. I'm sorry.
Sorry, I read that die could also have to do with Shaddai, could have to do with die. It is enough.
I am going to unofficially say that's a bridge too far.
Oh. When in the Talmud it says when God created the sea and it was expanding, and then God said die and
die. Yeah,
it's enough, and he caused the sea to stop expanding. I just read that somewhere.
No, it's there.
No,
and I'm going to stick with, I think it's a bridge too far, but it's fascinating. And Howard, when do these things happen? It's when people don't know. Okay,
right?
We don't know. Arthur, please.
It is almost at the end of the session, and today or this session is the last of Joseph. I wanted to arouse your attention to the slavery. I want to say the bondage that is talked in Torah is not the way that we saw in the film or in the movie Gone with the Wind. This is not that way. The slavery that the Bible is talking about is a universal serf and serfdom. It means that the people, the peasants, were agricultural worker working in land that belonged to landlords, and the landlords would sell and buy land with the people on that. Therefore, the people working there were the slave of the landlord. I would like to say that this system is not because Joseph bought or did whatever. This is the history of human civilization. This was existed up to about 3-4 centuries ago in Europe. Let's talk about this issue.
Okay, we're gonna stop there. Arthur, what's very interesting is that someone last night came up to me and said the same thing. Oh, it was you. Okay.
Yes, it was.
And when we get into talking about the slavery, there is a difference between serfdom and slavery. And there are lots of nuances, and we'll try to get to that. And I appreciate the comment.
I have to go, Rabbi.
The verse 3 ended with, El Shaddai appeared to me, and God promises to make them fruitful and multiply. And the only other, I had plenty of comments, but the phrase pru or vu, be fruitful and multiply, in verse 4 comes straight out of Genesis, out of creation, out of, that is one of the great blessings that we can offer. We must pru or vu. We must be fruitful and multiply. And it's kind of interesting because on the one hand, we must multiply the study of Torah. On the other hand, we must multiply our numbers. And without going into it, the late Pope Benedict, that's, what did you say? The fruitfulness blessing is why Shaddai is used here. Okay, so you're reconnecting with the breasts and with nurturing. Okay, I get it. Tamara, do you want to say something else?
Yes, nurturing in the sense of fertility, having enough milk to raise humans. So it's not just nurturing like putting your arms around someone, it's nurturing in the sense of providing food and sustenance, especially to babies. So Shaddai is used often in that connection with fruitfulness.
I love it. Okay, I thank you for that. There was just so much. I wanted to talk about Rachel today. We're not going to talk about Rachel. We are going to go to Kaddish. And let me just say that this was, I learned today. And I like that I still can learn, but thank you all for teaching. And that's what's going on here. It's kind of amazing. I totally am grateful to you for this opportunity. Okay. Don't forget, we have the current events program on Wednesday. And now I'm going to mention the names of those who passed away during the past month. Penina, I just see you for the first time. Hello, Penina. Seymour Cantor, Rocio Delgadillo, Roger Ensign, mainly Burton Feinstein, Linda Friedman, Sean Goss, Dorothy Koenig, Stanley Stogel. Yard sites that occurred during the past week: Olga Ackerman, Yafa Ackerman, Jeanette Gay, Harold Alden, Janine Nina Barish, Selma Becker, David Bedry, Bradley Bell, Pauline Berkowitz, Alexander Burke, Samuel Berman, Alan Burns, Burton J. Burson, Samuel Bender, Isidore Borstein, Louis Brown, Suzanne Chartrand, Eve Shervin, Ilsa Klaus, Jack Coe, Stanley Corwin, Minnie Crystal, Julian Crystal, Arthur Daum, Fred Ehrlich, Jean Fagadev, Benjamin Fedowich, Harold Feldman, Eve Yaville Fine, Louis Finkel, Julius Fish, Florence Fisher, Craig Fisher, Celia Fisher, Rabbi Alan Fraley, Ralph Freed, Lee Bud Friedman, Florence Gann, Dorothy Gerber, Emily Gassas, Ryan Glazer, Samuel Golden, Joan Goldsmith, Adeline Goldstein, Milton Gray, Adele Habibi, Suzanne Hamrell, Selma Hanover, Albert Harris, Fred Handler, Swain Chu Hin, Stanley Hockman, Sid Horn, Barry Lieberman, Lloyd Isaac, Solomon Israel, Rosalie Coleman, David Kamens, Leonard Konofsky, Clotilda Karamazin, Yehuda Katan, Meyer Kaufman, Helen Keene, Hilda Keith, Calvin Kleiman, Arthur Knopp, Louise Kapolsky, Betty Cooperstock, Shirley Lackman, Rose Landstrom, Bernard Lax, Ariana Kokotov Lebedev, Eugene Lederer, Lillian Lee, Samuel Lehman, Joseph Lair, Marion Levine, William Lockheim, Clara Lubliner, Murray Joseph Lubliner, David Lyons, Rhoda Mendel, Frank Markowitz, Madeline Auer Maslon, Kitty Master, Saul Miner, Harold Mendelson, Michael Miller, Morris Mendel, Joanne Minkin Levy, Luis Morezo, Sam Morguelen, Evelyn Motzkin, Ryan Nagy, Miriam Sloan Nachum, Alia Normand, Pearl Polachek, Hermo Reguero, Samuel Reisenbach, Selma Rifkin, Molly Robbins, Judith Robbins, Kay Joyce, Rodstein, Ann Rosenblatt, Ronald Roth, Edith Rubin, Esther Rousseau, Samantha Sachs, Jack Sachs, Gary Salter, Roberta Samsky, Jacob Samuels, Bluma Samuels, I.J. Schiff, John Schwan, Leon Schwab, Bella Tartiek Schwartz, Lottie Seelman, Louis Shadlin, Brent Carter Schember, Gladys Siegel, Harold Silverstein, Robert Simon, Ruth Seneko, Helen Sobin, Howard Sokoloff, Abraham Solomon, Irma Sparrow, Robert Stein, Harold Stein Gold, Mildred Stern, Sunley Sun, Julia Taylor, Sanford Tisherman, Arnold Trainin, Jane Trainin, Betty Umansky, Sylvia Unger, Elaine Warsaw, Manuel Weber, Lorraine Weger, Irene Weil, Marvin Weiner, Ron Wire, Warren David Weissman, Michael Weiss, Phyllis Barron Weissman, Aubrey Woodson, Mark Williams, Louis Wallner, Yakov Yankovic, Barbara Serrera Zola, Kathy Zubrin. I apologize for names that I've mispronounced. And if I have omitted any names and you would like to, please speak their names aloud now or speak them in your hearts at this time.
I'd like to mention Abraham Joshua Heschel, whose yard site is this week.
Yes. There's going to be there are major programs all week about Heschel. And thank you for doing that. We bear in mind as well the names who died in defense of the United States, who died in defense of the state of Israel, who were lost through senseless, meaningless acts of violence, and all those who have no one to save Kaddish for them. Together, Yitkadal. Yitkadal. Yalma Rach Yerushe, Yamlich Malchut, V'chayechon Uvyomechon, V'chaye Dechol Yisrael, Ba'agala Uvizman Karik, V'imru Amen, Yehi Shmei Rabba Mevarach, Le'olam Le'omeh Almaya, Yitbarach, Yishtabach, Ar V'yitramam V'yitnaseh, Yitadar Aleh Shmei Kurishah La'ela Min Kol Birchata V'shirata Tush B'chata V'nachata Da'amiran B'alma Imru Amen Yehi Shor Rabba Min Shemaya V'chayim Aleinu V'al V'imru Amen Oseh Shalom V'imromav Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'imru Amen. May God who makes peace in the high places make peace in our hearts, make peace in our homes, make peace in the household of Israel, make peace among all the families and nations of earth. And let us say,
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Shabbat Shalom, my friends.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom.
Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom.
Such a pleasure. Such a pleasure.
The best.
Beautiful, beautiful study time. Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom, Susie. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Karen is here. Karen Sarachek.
Shabbat shalom.
Joseph. Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Effie, are you going to come to the Shabbat dinner?
Yes.
Perfect. Perfect. I count you in with Dean.
Well, I have to ask.
Okay, I need to know. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
It's on what, the 27th, right?
27th.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye. See you on Sunday, Barbara and Howard.